Welcome to the Notorious DID. I am Lara. I am here to answer the age-old question that everybody seems to ask as soon as they find out you have DID. I'm sure you know what it is before I can even say anything. Is DID like in the movies? There's a very simple and fast answer for that. The movies are fiction. Fiction writing, even though it may have little grams of fact in it, is still fiction. Too many people think of the movies as being reality or being what someone actually goes through with DID. This is not the case. There are grams, little tiny morsels of fact within the movies. However, let's face it, they're there to fill seats, they're there to sell tickets. They're not going to do that if they don't have it sensationalized and have absurd characters within that have DID and how they react and what they do, usually horrible things, which is not factual. What is factual is those with DID are going through a very tough life, period. Those around them are going through a tough life. It is difficult to deal with and have DID. There is nothing glamorous about it. There is nothing cool about it, and there's nothing sensational about it to where someone would want this disorder. Those who speak out with DID are highly criticized, are highly scrutinized, put under a microscope, even though, believe me, it is a brave thing to allow yourself to share such deep issues that you are going through. It is not, repeat, not like it is displayed in the movies. We are not all psychos. We are not crazy. We are not all killers. It is absurd for anyone to assume this merely because someone has multiple personalities within them. If you shove a bunch of people into one room, how many of those people are killers and psychos? No different. No different. Within the DID community, people themselves are strong and supportive. It is slightly outside of the DID community from some of those that try to disprove or deny or ignore the fact that it is an actual disability, disorder. It creates disability at times, but no one I know that has DID stood in line and said, I definitely want this. Those with DID are still human beings. We cry, we bleed. No matter which altar it may be, there are still feelings involved. Some may have less feelings, but then again, some humans, period, have less feelings. When we go to a theater to see a movie that's displaying DID in the form that it does, it's really sad, because then everybody gets misperceptions. Everybody thinks that those with DID are psychotic, or they're killers, or they have superpower abilities. We are still humans. It may look good in a fiction book, but please, people, remember that that is fiction. With DID, do your personalities, or your alters, as we call them, do your alters have some differences with chemistry? Absolutely. Some things that are mild, like allergies or likes and dislikes of foods and things of this nature. So the next time you go to the movies to see one of these movies that are fiction, please remember they are fiction. We are currently in a 48-year-old's body. We are not going to spring across a ground and jump and fly in air and all of the rest of this ridiculous nonsense that is portrayed in a movie. I'm quite sure you know specifically some of those that it is portrayed in. And even if a movie does have some basis or some reality to it, and works more along the actual lines of what DID is, remember it is a movie. That is what I ask of you. Before you go to those of us who have DID, don't ask us if we have superpowers. Don't ask us if we have super abilities. We are struggling day to day with the fact that, especially with those of us who have so many alters, which is so many people to deal with on a regular daily basis, switching out the stress and strain it takes on your body, interacting with other people in the first place, just your friends and family, can be difficult, much less complete strangers that already have a perception of you based on a movie or a book, something that's fiction. There's another thing that I see and I hear, and I want to make a statement about. DID is not set in stone. Every single individual and every single body that has DID has a different experience. Why is this? Because we all have a different mind. We all have a different body. So I can speak for me specifically and my alters. I cannot speak for somebody else. I can give you an idea of what we go through. Or one of the others of us can give you an idea of what we go through. We still cannot speak for anybody else that has DID. Each individual person has their own experiences and their own things that they encounter, that they deal with, different ways that DID works with them. And I do not fathom to step into somebody else's world and say, I know what you're doing and what you're going through. Because I do not. I barely know what we're going through. That is why the vlog is going to be so helpful. So, please do not form a perception from movies or books that are fiction. Don't necessarily 100% form a perception from the professional field because, as I said, everyone is individual. There are bases of fact that remain within DID. However, every single person's DID is their own and different. What one person may encounter, I may not, vice versa. We may have more alters, we may have less alters. We may have different forms of personalities that others do not, and they may have ones that we do not. It is no different because of the fact that someone says, well, these are the rules. There are no rules. I have learned that personally myself, as have the bulk of the alters within our system, that there are no rules, nothing is set in stone, and you might as well throw dice up in the air if you think you're going to be able to put it down on paper as exactly what it is and what's happening. It could change at any given moment. You deal with it as best you can. And the stigma that movies are giving and that fiction books are giving, not helpful. Not helpful. But there's a huge DID community that we all attempt to work together and build fact and knowledge, awareness, and let you see exactly what we do and live with and go through so that you have an actual perception. I appreciate you taking your time to listen to me about this fact today. We are the Notorious DID, and for now, I say goodbye.